They say it's an ill wind that blows no good, and it's hard to say anything good about the terrible yellow fever epidemics that beset Memphis in 1873, 1878, and again in 1879. They did change our city, however, for the better. Memphis in 1870 was a sometimes violent, squalid boomtown, a good place to make money, but not a place to stay the year round with your family unless you had to. The economy depended solely on financing and processing of the annual cotton crop and on wholesale distribution to the farms and plantations of the tri-state hinterland. Except for Main and 2nd Streets and a few others paved with wooden blocks, dust in the summer and mud in the winter prevailed. A ride on the mule-drawn streetcars cost a nickel. Some of the dirt streets did have sidewalks. Horse manure, garbage, and animal carcasses were dumped in the middle of the river. In hot summers, at low water, mounds of rotting refuse would sometimes reappear, causing a perfectly awful stench. Water to fight fires was pumped from the Wolf River by the waterworks a few yards above the entry of the Bayou Gayosa. It was hardly fit to drink, and most people got their water for drinking, cooking, and bathing from ground-level systems supplied by roof-shed rain, perfect for breeding mosquitoes. There were no sewers. Ironically named privy vaults contained the accumulated treasure of years in many cases, and the few indoor water closets drained directly into cesspools or into the little bayou, a series of stagnant pools which made up the city's effective eastern boundary, about where Danny Thomas Boulevard is now. Memphis was also enthralled to its recent history. The undamaged town, with its 4 railroads, was occupied by federal troops in June of 1862. Its location between the warring sections made it perfect for a brisk contraband trade. The city filled with newcomers on the make. Thousands of black freedmen flocked to Memphis from the plantation districts. Post-war politics were raw and corrupt, and the 3 vices were not only tolerated but condoned. Beginning in the late 1860s, the city debt began to run out of control as misrule prevailed. 1873 was a bad year for the country and a bad, bad year for Memphis. A financial panic spread from Europe to New York, causing a multi-year depression people called the Great Depression until the 1930s. In Memphis, after an epizootic which killed thousands of horses and mules and an outbreak of cholera, epidemic yellow fever appeared. Advanced medical theory then posited miasmas, noxious foul air, as the cause of yellow fever. Before first frost came that year, over 2,000 Memphians died of it. But the next few years saw a boost in real estate prices and relative quiet as the city contrived to sweep its growing debt under the rug by issuing scrip and levying taxes ruinous to anyone foolish enough to pay them. The Mardi Gras celebrations became more and more lavish, but in 1878, the party stopped for Memphis. This week, we remember the horrors and heroism of the great fever epidemics of 1878 and 79. By New Year's Day, 1880, Memphis was at her low point, depopulated with a national reputation for pestilence and bankrupt beyond saving in the minds of many. A change had to be made, but how? Memphis's rebirth has many heroes who took matters in hand to bring about the taxing district, a form of receivership that allowed the town to be cleaned up, paved, and sewered while holding off creditors until the old city debt could be compromised and restructured. The key man was Dr. David Tinsley Porter, a cotton merchant and first president of the taxing district. He was backed and assisted by John Overton Jr., the city's biggest landowner. The debt was restructured and the streets were paved under cotton merchant David Park Haddon, the longest serving and most colorful president of the taxing district. Others who deserve to be remembered are lawyers Luke Wright, Minor Merriweather, and George Gant, and G.B. Thornton, the long-serving president of the Board of Health. No one really knows why the fever didn't return in 1880. If it had, that might have spelled the end for Memphis. The cleanup of the streets and the bayou probably played a role, as did the immunity conferred in 1878 and 79. And of course, there were many fewer Memphians to be infected. But mainly it was just plain luck. With the debt settled by 1885 and city taxes low and stable under the parsimonious government of President Haddon, an era of prosperity came to Memphis. New businesses started, property values rose by 10 to 25% per year, and the population doubled. New buildings and another streetcar company appeared. The cobblestone wharf was finished, and 4 new railroads came to town. On St. Patrick's Day, 1887, a well on the premises of the Bolin Hughes Machine and Lake Ice Company was drilled through a tight clay cap into sands containing crystal clear artesian water under immense hydrostatic pressure. Memphians high and low lined up to fill every bucket, can, and pitcher they could at the new well. By 1890, there were more than 50 artesian wells in Memphis, and to this day, no better water can be found anywhere. The mosquito-breeding cisterns became a thing of the past. Though Haddon was voted out in 1890 and the taxing district ended in 1893, Memphis's upward trajectory continued. Another financial panic and depression with 4-cent cotton drove thousands of people from the tri-state hinterland into town. They made Memphis a new place with a new ethos as the city limits exploded with the coming of the electric streetcar and then the automobile. So, 1880, the year the yellow fever didn't come to Memphis, was really the year of her rebirth.